Hey there everybody, welcome back to another video on Hard Hat Gaming. Today we have a little custom scenario called Crescent Bay. This will be a little bit reminiscent of Bumbly Beach. It's my personal favorite scenario from the original game, and I wanted to make something similar to that. In that vein, obviously I'm going to make some of my own changes. So, starting out, we're going to have our little checklist. I'm going to build a park entrance, an info building, a roller coaster, some throw rides, and then just add in some small details later on. And that's going to be sort of the vibe of this episode. Doing a little checklist, things that I wanted to accomplish, and it's time to get started with our park entrance. So if you watched my last video, my 5 scenery tips, this is something that I do in all my parks that is sort of not necessary in every park, but it's something I think looks pretty good. And I always like to build an actual entrance building for all of my scenarios that I do custom, or even for like if I'm building something in like one of the original scenarios. It's I usually like to build one of these just because it makes it look a little more interesting, in my opinion. I think it's more interesting than the generic park entrance gates or buildings that exist in the game. Like I said in the last video, they look fine, but it's just fun to build something custom that you built yourself and it looks, you know, whatever. That's obviously the whole point, is to get creative and do things that satisfy your own creativity. I think that made sense. So I decided to build something pretty simple for this. I obviously am using custom scenery, at least on this building. And for the whole scenario, there's going to be a lot of custom objects in this video. Now, this is a Tudor roof style, T-U-D-O-R, not two doors, but Tudor roof style that I got on Any Designs. And then I have some little small deco pieces from the Extreme 97 scenery pack. You don't have to know all of that information. That's just sort of, if you're interested in getting any of that, that's what I did here. Now, I didn't really have a ton of plans going into this. I just kind of I decided to sort of not plan and sort of freestyle as I went along, and it ended up working out pretty well. I think there were some changes I made towards the end of this video, as you'll see once we get there, that I wanted to update some of this. I realized that the trees up front in the middle of that path structure actually block the sign, and it's something that I'm trying to work on, trying to use principles that you'd see in like an actual theme park. Like I wanted to use things like sight lines and things like that. So that's the beginning of this video. I wanted to do that for the entrance building, but we're going to move on to our info building, so to speak. This is sort of the focal point of the entrance of the park. So I wanted to make something very ornate. And again, this is something that I'll probably keep working on as we go, maybe in the next episode. I realized that, as you'll see later, I actually built it kind of at a weird angle, where the sign and the entrance are on the sides of the building rather than the front, which wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, because when you're walking into the park, you want to see the sign from when you first walk in. So, later on, I'm probably going to rotate this building to the side so that the sign goes on the front and the back of the building rather than the left and right side. So that's going to be later on in probably episode 2 when I do this later. I don't know when exactly that's going to be, but overall, I thought this building actually turned out very well. I thought this was a good mix of custom and non-custom scenery objects. I thought it all worked pretty well together. I like the color scheme that goes along. It actually works with the entrance building, but it has its own little color scheme. It adds some purple along with that sort of pink orange color, and this is where having the newest version of OpenRCT is actually very helpful, because they added in extra colors into the game that don't exist in the original game and the original versions of OpenRCT2. This is something that's brand new. So that's that building. I think it looks pretty good. Like I said, I'm going to rotate it later on, but we're going to move on to our roller coaster. So this is the first coaster. I'm building a mini roller coaster. Nothing really special about it, other than just I wanted to make something that was both aesthetically pleasing and had good stats, and I ended up getting it right on the first try. So the other part of this that's interesting is that this is actually a custom vehicle type, or I think it's maybe a vehicle type that was only in the original game, that was not in Rollercoaster Tycoon 2. This is the spinning cars that don't exist in RCT2, and I spent a lot of time here working on the color schemes. I wanted it to fit with the rest of with the buildings and the pathing. I wanted it to be very, very colorful, because as you're going to see, this is called Margaritaville Madness. R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett. I thought this would be a good little tribute, and I thought it would just be fun because we have a beach-themed scenario. I thought a beach island-themed roller coaster was just appropriate. So, really, the cars themselves are actually meant to mimic the colors of like a parrot, because Jimmy Buffett fans are called parrot heads. If you don't know, if you're not American, you probably don't know that, or maybe you do, and you're weirdly a Jimmy Buffett fan. But yeah, Jimmy Buffett is like one of the most American musical artists that ever existed. Very tropical, escapist music that, I mean, you guys know. If you have Google, whatever. And you probably know him already. But yeah, so this is Margaritaville Madness with the parrot-themed cars that spin and the kind of sunset colored track. And that's really... that's sort of essentially the vibe there. I wanted to do something that I don't normally do, is adding sort of a decorative sign in front of the roller coaster. I'm trying to work on, again, this is something that's related to sight lines, because it's sitting on that hill. I didn't really need to make it super insanely tall, because as you walk into the park, you turn to your left and you'll just immediately see that sign, and that's something that would exist in the original. That would exist in a real theme park. So next, I wanted to kind of detail. I'm working on trying to make my shrubs and foliage a little bit less kind of random looking. And I think I did a good job of that. Using custom scenery objects for this really, I thought, helped quite a bit. Like, normally I would just, use that scatter tool to just drop down a bunch of bushes, a bunch of trees everywhere. And in this case, I thought it actually did me a lot. I thought it was a lot better to sort of really focus in on having those dead grass pieces and dunes like you would see at a beach. And so I would say that roller coaster is done. I wanted to just kind of add in some small details along. This will be sort of a boardwalk later on. That's why I'm building those palm trees along the beach, along the coast, and sort of just adding some small details. Now, I know the small details on the list is at the end, but I always like to do it as I go sometimes and just sort of add in some smaller things. So now we have finished the roller coaster. We add in some small details. We're going to move to our thrill rides. Now, these, in my opinion, are the most important in actually, when you play scenarios, especially having thrill rides in your park. It's honestly, they're probably the best ways to win scenarios, because they are cheap, but they have good stats, so they make you a lot of money. I always research thrill rides first whenever I'm doing a scenario. It's almost like it's not a cheat, but but they are things that are very important. So once I plop down my Tilt-A-Whirl, that's a custom ride that I got from the Extreme 97 scenario scenery pack that I mentioned earlier, and then I also put in a pirate ship that we're going to decorate in the next episode. But right now, we kind of move to our small detail section. Now that we've detailed our thrill rides and we've detailed our roller coaster, we've built our info building, it's time to just sort of add some small details. Like I said, adding some trees in the middle of our path just as decoration. That's something you would see in a normal theme park. So adding some fences around the main plaza, because obviously we don't want people wandering out of there. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to update the entrance building with some smaller trees. So that is it. That is where we stand right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit short. I know it's a little bit fast. I'm trying to work on the speed. I know I had a lot of comments on the last video about the speed of the videos, so I'm going to try and slow it down going forward. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's going to be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. See ya.